It does me, it makes me feel very good to be here this afternoon with the President and CEO of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Venerable NAACP, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome to the City of New Orleans our President, Mr. Benjamin Todd Gillis. How you doing?
All right, I'm doing well, Brother King. I'm doing real well.
All right. Brother Gillis, now you've been on the job for about how long?
For about 3 years. So I started September 2008, was appointed May of that year.
Okay. Has it been everything that you expected?
And more.
And more. Okay, well, you know, you're coming into a period of time that's very, very challenging on the not only the local level in New Orleans, but also national. You know, we've had since you've been in office, we've had the earthquake in Haiti. We've had the explosion and the tsunami in Japan, and we've had all these different repercussions here in the United States, and we've had the election of the first African American as president in the nation's history. Why don't you just share us a little bit about what you've been going through, working with the association, going through those things?
Well, I think, and even more to the point and closer here to home, has been the BP disaster, right? And we've been, you know, the day I started, we had a hurricane down in Galveston. My first day on the job, it's actually the Sunday before, I was at the airport headed to Houston. This issue of changing climate and at the same time sort of parallel environmental catastrophes as the world seeks to grapple with its increasing demand for power and for energy has huge ramifications for our people. And you don't have to look any further than the Gulf out here. And the lack of fisher folk getting back to work, people still feeling very much impacted, both financially impacted from a health perspective, impacted from a mental health perspective, rising domestic violence as far as many of the communities that have been most impacted. And that's why I'm here today, is to help keep the focus on BP and their need to be fully accountable to the people of this region. One of the big groups that's been overlooked, you know, they focused on tourism, they focused on beaches, but as far as social service providers, those institutions that actually tend to the human beings of this region, they have not really met their needs. And as you might think, in this economy with the recession already going down, well, tax receipts have fallen even further throughout the region because of the BP disaster, and social needs have gone through the roof. So one of the things that we're asking for is for them to be accountable to their social service providers.
All right. All right. Well, let's, you know, you bring up a few different issues there, and one, I'm glad that you highlight the fact that your presence in Louisiana and in New Orleans today is fighting on behalf and advocating on behalf of those that have been impacted by the BP oil spill, but still have not been made whole.
Oh, that's right. And we at the NAACP will keep on pushing. It's not just because we care about these communities, it's because we're in these communities. We're here in your great city. We've been here for decades. We're in Gulfport. We're all the way over in Pensacola, and we're at, you know, each major community in between. And so these are our communities, and we're going to make sure that our neighbors and our members and our friends and our families are made whole.
All right, well, President Gillis, we definitely appreciate the work that you're doing in relation to the incident with the BP oil spill, the other work that you've been doing, and as you and I briefly had an opportunity to discuss, that there are some other issues relating to the city of New Orleans, economic issues, and we can look forward to working with our national NAACP, again, to fight for the economic rights of our citizens here in New Orleans.
You know, we're very concerned about the issues that your branch has raised, about the lack of inclusion, at least proper and sort of significant enough inclusion of minorities of color, vendors of color, and small business owners, and frankly, residents of the city, even more generally. And that's something we have fought for, that sort of inclusivity for decades. It's a hallmark of our work. And in this economy, it becomes even more excruciatingly important because when there's one of the biggest well springs of opportunity, for better or worse, is government business. And if people feel like they're being excluded, that perception is bad enough. When they really are being excluded, the financial impact can become absolutely devastating.
All right. Once again, President Jessup, thank you for taking the time out to meet with us, and I look forward to working with you and continue to work with you and your administration, you know, to advance the mission of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People.
Well, thank you, President King. You know that sort of a redundant President King, but one thing that we're very proud of is the work that you've done down here with the New Orleans Police Department to make sure that the issue of justice and fair treatment stays at the forefront. We have worked back in Washington to make sure that the DOJ stays on the case, and we're hopeful. I mean, we've all been here before trying to reform this department, but we're hopeful that with your leadership here and the leadership of Holder up in Washington, finally something will get done.
All right. Once again, thank you, President.
All right. Thank you.
Very good. All right.